Welcome, guys, to episode 20 of Kerbal Space Program Countdown to KSP 2. We're jumping right into the action here with the construction of a new base. I know, it's another one. But first, we have to go to our old base and construct it from there because this is going to be a base on the dense soup. Not what would you even call it? Okay, so it has a ring around it. So that up there, that's a planet, pretty cool planet. It's called Sera, and yeah, so we're gonna create a little base on there, and then we're gonna set up a transport ship that goes for there and to orbit. It's going to produce nuclear salt water for a reasonably large interstellar craft we're going to be assembling next episode. So that's gonna be fun. If you notice right there, the communications thing, I've given up on communications because I even tried editing the save file. So a specific antenna um is like able to like see other antenna that are like twice the length of the distance between these two systems to each other, and they still won't connect. So I've just given up on that. So that's fun. Thank you. Here we are actually trying to build it right here. So this base, if you don't know already, it's dirt powered. This is a dirt powered base. Basically, you mine the dirt, and then you turn the dirt into like all the materials, and then you turn that into what we need. And it's so slow. Oh my gosh. I did not anticipate just how slow this process was going to be. Also, nighttime. Daipuk, which is the moon we're on right now, it's tidally locked to Sera, so it has a really long day and a really long night. And that means that every time it's nighttime, the freaking drill shuts off because it doesn't have any AC. So I tried adding like 3 battery banks. That didn't work. Also, production just in general is just really slow. Like, I've spent probably 10 minutes at this point, and we have less than one specialized part. There's our first specialized part right there. Now we have two. If you noticed earlier, we needed 130,000 material kits or something, and like I don't know how many specialized parts we needed, but it was a lot. It was a very big number, and this was not going to work. So like even with me time warping like crazy here, like we only got up to 30, and we need like 30,000 of these. So like it doesn't matter how much I time warp because it's just too slow in like every circumstance. So eventually I realize it's not going to work, but I still want to like kind of get the feeling that I'm launching from this base for all intents and purposes. So eventually I want to go over here and I want to see if I can just like send it through the old one. But like even this old one does not have 130,000 material kits. So eventually what I settled on is launching it like this and then just teleporting it on top of the base. Um the first attempt didn't go well. I liquidated the surface somehow and bugged out the entire game. So that was fun. I, I don't even know what I did there, but I honestly don't. That was a thing. So we tried again, and I missed the coordinates. I forgot to retype in the actual coordinates, and physics easing wouldn't turn off. So that was attempt number 2 gone down the drain. Attempt number 3 actually like worked because I did it right. I spawned at about 100 meters in the air. I wish I could have gotten a little closer, but then I did this, which wait for it. Oh yeah, here it comes. So then I proceed to do this, which is one turning in the wrong direction and then turning all the way around. So we basically burned off any exit delta V we would have had anyway, so whatever. Also, we have limited probe control again because we don't have any comms. So the only way you can really pilot this vessel is by like randomly picking node points to point towards and just hoping that you like end up over um what the heck is it called? Hoping you end up over the direction you want to face essentially. So that was interesting. You might also notice at this point there's a strange other craft in orbit. This is one of my other things I decide to do because I figure. So actually, I think we switched to it pretty quickly. So there's the actual base right there. So if you, it's like a really long tube full of just Kerbals. So what this is basically acting as for me is I spent about half an hour transporting Kerbals into this essentially just mobile astronaut complex. I can just kind of cheat around any planet, and that'll essentially just be like getting Kerbals there, because otherwise I have to like transport them all the way around. And like I figure in KSP2 we'll have some way of like acquiring more Kerbals off world, because sending more Kerbals over interstellar distances because I forgot to put enough for the rover, that just seems impractical. Honestly, so I wouldn't. I figured the Kerbal has to get himself to the ship, not the other way around. Although I do kind of go against that here anyway in a bit, but whatever. It's extra delta V, whatever. I'm spending it, so there's kind of like my tax for not doing it right. So eventually we get down here. Now here's the thing I thought would be perfectly simple, all right? Re-entry, the base has 2 heat shields, right? So it'll always stay, and then it turns sideways and blew up. So yeah, thanks, gang. There's one in the front, there's one in the back. What could possibly go wrong? And it turns sideways and blows up. So there's that. The reason we needed actually a Kerbal on this thing is because it has nuclear storage on it. So the way you make nuclear salt water in this is you basically take some uranium and you take some ore, or I guess in this case I'm thinking it's more like water, and you basically you irradiate the water and you put it in a tank, and there you go, nuclear salt water. That's how it works. The base is kind of designed so that instead of like ore drills, they're kind of like look like water pipes that are kind of in the ground. So I essentially wanted to try to land for these somewhere close to one of the reservoirs, oceans. I don't know what you. I guess they're technically oceans. I assume they're water. I guess I actually, now that I think about it, the Sera might not actually have like water on it. That might be explodium or whatever KSP wants it to be. But in my head canon, there's water under the surface, and that's water. So we're just kind of tapping into groundwater. So that's why I don't actually remember if we actually deploy it here. I've already deployed it because I've started working on to stream. I think I'm gonna do that. So basically, yeah, that's what this is. It has a nuclear reactor on it because we're making uranium anyway. I figure the atmosphere is not going to be great for solar panels, but yeah. So here's our first landing attempt. Right here, so we deploy the drogues. We do actually need drogues because I tried landing this with regular parachutes and it blew up. All the parachutes ripped off. We were falling too fast. Atmosphere is too thick. So there's that. So this landing actually goes perfectly fine. There's actually nothing wrong with it. But so here's how we land it. We just it ends up on its side. I don't really like that it ends up kind of going down on its side, but I could not be. Anyway, I didn't like the location, so I just decided to try again. And it kind of comes down lopsided because of how the parachutes. I mean, I could have spent another hour balancing the thing so it looks good in 2 seconds, but I mean, or I could just not, and it would probably land fine anyway. Here's me trying a second time to do a landing. So there's a couple fails in here, and I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that because I want to talk about Kerbal Space Program 2. Footage has been released, not just from the developers, but from actual people who have got their hands on it. And oh my goodness, hype. I'm just gonna go with that, hype. So yeah, there was a big thing I think 2 days ago when the specs got dropped, and the internet just like exploded and freaked out because the minimum spec was an RTX 3080, or not minimum, recommended spec was a 3080 or an RX 6800 XT, but those are equivalent basically. Now, like, what I feel like most of the internet, I mean, like, there's been some people who have like actually realized that this is like early access, and they like remembered that. There's the base just exploding on contact with the surface. So that was funny. Anyway, so a lot of people, I think they're just like they're kind of, this is the specs for the early access period, so I figure they're like any inefficiencies they have in their code, the reason that the recommended is so high is just they're gonna kind of compensate for the inefficiencies, but just throwing more power at the game. Which, I mean, if it works, I guess you can't complain. So, there's that. Anyway, here's our transition over to our next build, which is a plane for the transport of this thing. So here we are, immediately transporting it back to Vulcan base, and we're gonna basically just take it off from here. Yeah, so basically this is gonna go pretty much like the other one, except I'm gonna actually rendezvous it with the thing because I want to get a couple Kerbals in this thing. Just because, why not? Why not put Kerbals in the plane? It's kind of what it's there for anyway. So, Kerbal Space Program 2. There were a couple bugs in that, but then again, that footage was recorded on the 9th, and it's being released on the 24th, so they have plenty of time to iron out bugs. What I hope they get out before release is they're probably going to have most of those bugs actually squashed by the time it's actually like a public beta. I guess it'd be a public beta, wouldn't it, right? Or is it just a kind of I don't know. There's Sera in the background. Pretty cool shot there, if I do say so myself. This is a really cool planet pack. I honestly wish I could have had more time, or just like played the game more. I should have been up. I should have planned the series out like an actual good YouTuber. I planned out like 10 episodes and then just stopped for some reason. I don't know why. That was dumb. Makes me feel like I'm bad at this, but then again, learning curve, so maybe it's fine. I'll just anyway. Whatever. This is a really nice planet pack, Cow Below. If you don't want to get KSP 2, but you still want interstellar travel, I guess this one it's really good. It had a lot of planets and stars and stuff in it, and also black hole. It's kind of like the namesake of it. Here's our rendezvous with the pseudo astronaut complex. Reasons I wanted like 7 Kerbals in here or whatever. Anyway, so one thing I did notice about the things is the amount of vapor trails on the planes. Now, if you want my opinion, I think that there's a little bit too many vapor trails. There's really only meant usually like 2 around the edges of the wingtips. I see how they basically coded it. It's basically just put vapor trail on end of wing. But or like maybe they should have it so it's like customizable, just so that people can like say, okay, here's where you can put a vapor trail like on the edge of this specific winglet or something. And I mean, we haven't actually seen the like proper like heating and stuff effects, so it's possible they've changed it around like that. I really want to see kind of like the washover effect you see over like the wings of like an F-18 when they're doing like a high G pitch up maneuver. I don't know. Maybe if I don't forget, I'll put a video in here, or maybe I won't. If I forget, I'll probably actually forget. Anyway, that's the thing. Here's a cool shot of the the craft over Sera. So yeah. And here I am trying to figure out how to get the stupid singularity window to delete itself. Eventually I figured out it's Alt S, I think. So that's a thing. Here's our reentry. Kind of toasty, but then again, we are also traveling at 35,000. 35,000? No. 3,500. I can count meters per second. Anyway, so yeah. Kerbal Space Program 2. Can't wait. Can't wait to math my way through that game. I feel like that should just be my thing, honestly, because I actually like doing math for some reason. I feel like that's gonna end up being what I actually do. It's just like KSP plus math or something. I don't know. It's not gonna be all of it, but like here I decided spinning, that's a good trick. No, it's not. I had for some reason my trim, which yes, you can trim planes in this game if you press Alt and then the keys. So basically Q W E A S W, any of those for roll, pitch, and yaw. You can trim those if you say like hold Alt and turn off SAS. You can kind of see it in your little indicators in the bottom left. You can kind of see. So right now, if you see, it's like maxed out for some reason. So you can trim that out with like Alt W and S. Here it broke up for some reason. I don't know why. That's a thing. So here's where you might kind of recognize that picture I sent a week ago. I intended for this video to be out less than a week ago, but you know, I spent a lot of time on this plane, all right? I don't know why. I should have just redesigned the thing, but I was intent. I made this design and it looked cool. So I wanted to use it. But you know, so I ended up the original one that you saw in that picture actually only had 2 of these engines. And this one has 4 because I realized that nuclear salt water is water. It's heavy. So I needed more thrust. Those engines actually, I haven't mentioned it. Those are actually they're like air breathing nuclear engines. So basically they take in they're basically nuclear engines. They're bigger, they're more efficient. They actually have infinite thrust in atmosphere if they have air. So basically you just take atmosphere, not air, not oxygen, just atmosphere, and you use that as like reaction mass. So I figured that'd be a really cool design for a plane on a planet with a very thick atmosphere like Sera here. That's why I designed this plane with those engines specifically. Anyway, here's our landing. I decided that we would go with the humpback whale method or the camelback method of a landing for some reason. So we did that. I spent way too long on this plane. I'm not gonna lie. It did not need to be this big. Well, it did need to be this big because we're hauling nuclear salt water around. But yep, it can also refuel itself. So that's a thing. Anyways, that was another episode of KSP, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you're hyped for KSP 2 like I am, make sure that you're subscribed. Hit the like button. Leave a comment down below or something. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye.